Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching me, hi, my name is Alex and I am owner of Smith Signature Prints. On my channel, I provide helpful tips and tricks to help elevate your small business. Also, I love to inspire and motivate others through my content, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a video. So in today's tutorial, I actually get asked this question a lot on how to get the best quality stickers, bookmark, basically anything dealing with paper that you plan on selling. I will go over the settings I use for Mac users and Windows users just to make sure I cater to all audiences. Now I'm using an Epson, but this will be the same concept for every printer. The navigation on your printer may be different, but the result will be the same. So let's dive in. All right, so let's go ahead and start off with my Mac users. Okay, so if you are a Windows users, I will have some timestamps in the description box below and feel free to skip around the video. Okay, so just for today, I'm going to be using my Kawaii grab bag thank you cards that I created specifically for my grab bags. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Control P. And it's going to bring up your print settings. So let me just zoom in a little bit because I know sometimes people get a little... they can't really see what I'm doing. So let me zoom in. Okay, so right there. So what I like to do is it's very important. Now, when it comes to your print settings, it is very important to make sure that your print settings not only matches your computer, but it matches your printer. Your printer is automatically factory set to plain paper. Yes, I said it. Not a lot of people tell you that, but yes, it is set to plain paper. So whatever paper you are loading inside of your printer, you need to be changing the settings when you print. Okay, so I'm going to be printing on cardstock for an example today. So for cardstock, my settings is always matte paper. So the first thing you want to check, I only want one sheet of paper, and then I go down to media type and I make sure that says matte paper, and I always make sure the quality says best. Okay, if this says normal, what's going to happen is that once you hit print, the printer's not going to slow down so that the ink can absorb into the paper to give you the best vibrancy and the best picture and quality. So when you hit best, what happens is the printer, when it's actually printing the ink on the paper, it slows down a bit. So it gives the ink time to kind of adhere to the paper to give you that bright, pretty, vibrant look. Once I go over all of the settings for Windows and for Mac, because they're pretty much the same, I'm going to do a test print on my Mac computer. Okay, so this is what I do for Mac is I just change, all I do is just change the paper type. If you're sticking with photo paper, even when I print stationery, I still click matte paper in best because I want my picture to be vibrant. So no matter what the paper is, the only time I change these settings is if I'm going from glossy, like a photo paper. But if I'm using just plain paper, I still use matte paper. I don't go down to plain paper unless I'm printing out like something that's just going to be done just, for me to just write on or whatnot. So let's go ahead and hop into a Windows computer so I can show you the settings. Like I said, it's going to be the same concept, but it's going to look completely different for my Windows user. But it's okay, I got you. Let me go ahead and grab my laptop. Okay, so I went ahead and sent my thank you cards over to my Windows computer so that I can show you the print settings here. So what I like to do is go over to my print icon first. Then this is going to pull up. You want to hit on more settings and then print using system dialog and then more settings. These are going to pull up all of the options when it comes to your printer. I hope you guys can see this just fine. I would record the screen, but this computer is kind of slow, so I don't want any lagging. So what you would do is, let's just go from the top to the bottom. So orientation, portrait, paper type, I'm going to change that to premium matte paper. Quality, we're going to go ahead and change that to high because we want the best quality. And it just depends on if you want color or black and white. We're going to leave color the same. Now again, the print navigation I'm about to show you is for Epson users only, but if you have a Canon, HP, anything of that nature, the navigation may be different, but the results will be the same. You would just look for the title, print settings, paper type in your settings on your printer, and it should have the same options I'm about to show you right now. So what you're going to do is you're going to go over to settings, hit OK, printer setup, then you're going to hit paper source settings, then you're going to hit paper settings again, and then it's going to ask for paper size or paper type. You're going to go to paper type, hit OK, and this is where you'll be able to change your paper type. Now, when I first bought my Epson, it used to ask me, and it was preset to ask me every time I made a print, am I changing the settings? I actually opted out of that feature. I might have to go in and have it ask me every time I make a print, because sometimes I'd be printing on glossy paper, then I may switch from glossy to matte paper, you know, depending on what projects I'm doing for the day. But it typically will ask you, is your presentation the same, or do you need to change it? So if you opted out and it doesn't ask you anymore, you would just go in until I found out until I find a way to really bring that option back up automatically. I have to go in and change my options manually like this. So for stickers, since I'm printing on a matte, and this depends on your sticker paper or your bookmark paper, but for stickers, I typically print on matte paper. So I will choose premium matte. You can choose premium matte or you can choose matte presentation. I usually just go for premium matte, because I need it to slow down a little bit more, you know, for that ink to kind of absorb. Okay, so if you're on glossy paper and you're printing like, you know, magnetic bookmarks, which typically would be on glossy paper, you would go up to premium glossy, ultra glossy. I usually would click on premium glossy. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my Mac computer, and we're going to print. Say for example, you didn't change your settings. Say for example, you just pulled your Epson out the box and you just assume that it's, you know, it's going to print beautiful every time, and it's actually set to plain paper. We're going to do 2 test prints. So we're going to set this to plain paper. So we're going to go ahead and do some test prints. I'm going to set my printer to plain paper and my computer to plain paper. Then I'm going to switch it to matte presentation paper, and then I'm going to set my printer to matte presentation paper, and then we're going to do a comparison. So I'm going to load, this is just regular paper. So I'm going to load me some cardstock, 2 sheets of cardstock in here. And if you're wondering which cardstock paper I am using, it's the same brand or type of paper with Astro Bright. But I purchased this from Sam's. That's why the name is different, because I wanted to get like a bulk package. But if you don't have a Sam's membership or a Sam's near you, then I would just stick with Astro Bright or any type of 110-pound cardstock paper. I feel like that's the perfect consistency, unless you want to go a little thicker. All right, so let's go ahead and do a test print on plain paper. You see how fast it's printing out on plain paper? When it's printing matte paper, it slows down. It shouldn't be printing out this fast. Now I'm using the matte settings for my printer and my print settings on my Mac computer, and I had to do a time lapse because it goes really slow. It looks fast on screen, but it's actually printing very slowly here. All right, so let's do a side-by-side comparison. Off bat, like you can already tell the one on the left is not as vibrant as the one on the right. On the right, again, I used matte settings, best quality matte settings on my Epson printer, and on the left, I use a cardstock, but I use plain paper settings on my printer, plain paper settings, and normal on my Mac computer. So this is like you're just printing a normal print. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. It used less ink, but if you zoom in a little bit, you might see the pixels. You can see a little line right here. below the banner. You can tell that the printer was going really fast, just trying to get the job done as quickly as possible, compared to this one. It's slowed down, it's no lines, it's no inconsistency. Everything came out super vibrant, perfect. There's no smudges, there's no marks. Everything is perfect. I love it. Now, again, this side is nothing wrong with it if you want this, like maybe a soft palette, but I like those vibrant colors, and I know that it's you can see it. So I'm going to put them side by side again so you can really see the difference in each one. Okay, so again, I hope this video was very informative and helpful for anyone who's starting their stationery, bookmark, sticker journey, who wants to provide the best quality stickers and products to their customers. And it only takes just changing your settings. Something as simple as that can make a huge difference in creating your products. But again, thank you guys so much for watching. And if you do have a video request, please leave that request in the description box below and I will add it to my video request list. Of course, my list is growing daily, but I will get to your request, trust me. And thanks again for watching, and I'll talk to you guys on my next tutorial.